Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to another Chromatic Cube draft. Without further ado, let's get into the pack one, pick one. This is a solid pack with tons of different ways to go, as every cube pack is going to be. We've got Play with Fire for really efficient removal by this cube's standards. We also have Commit to Memory. I've been a big fan of the blue counter spells and stuff, but I have played two blue decks in a row. We went for Demir into Is It. So probably ignore that just for variety's sake here. We've got Cultivate. Ramping up is definitely one of the strongest things you can do in this cube because it's just so many massive top-end finishers to go around. I think these are the highest picks for me, again, because the big top-end finisher style, Nexus of Becoming, Dragon Master Outcast type cards, those are by far the most prevalent cards in the cube. They are absolutely everywhere, and they're much more replaceable than the really efficient cards or the really interactive cards like Play with Fire and Commit. So I'm going to go for the Cultivate here, see if we can't do some nice rampy stuff this time around. Pick number 2. We've got the World Tree's interesting. If we get 6 or more lands on board, then we have perfect mana. All of our lands tap for a mana of any colors. That's definitely quite solid in the late game. Also, by taking a land, we know it's going to make the cut pretty much 100% chance if we play green, whereas because there's so many powerful cards in the cube, if you end up like getting locked into your colors right off the bat and you just draft a bunch of good cards in your two colors, you're going to end up cutting so many spells because there's plenty of powerful stuff to go around. But the land, it's so easy to just cut a forest and have this land make the cut. That said, I doubt a card like Railway Brawler would end up getting cut. So there is a really solid non-land card. There's also Maelstrom Pulse here if we want to grab some interaction really early, which, as I've said before, is quite a high pick for me. I think I will go for that here. I'm going to go for the Pulse over the World Tree, but those are the two cards really competing in my mind. Pick 3. Doppelgang's quite the finisher. Quite the finisher. Most permanents in this cube are absolutely absurd cards that maybe even get great value like right when they enter the battlefield. So copying like all the best permanents on the board is super unstoppable in the late game. Again, finishers are very replaceable, but that is like one of the least beatable finishers I imagine in the whole cube. We do have a sweeper. Not a ton of board wipes in this cube. The Blasphemous Edict looking like a solid one, especially when we're potentially leaning towards black with a Maelstrom Pulse already. So I like the Edict, I like the Doppelgang. Those are definitely my favorites here, but Captivating Crossroads being fixing for any deck is also cool. And Cursed Mirror played really well for us last time, but I think I'm going to go for the Edict on this one. Go with the Maelstrom Pulse. There's a Terra Sunder, all cheap removal right off the bat. There's also more ramp though, and this is 1 mana ramp, a 1 mana 1/1 that taps for white. Obviously, tapping for white is worse than just tapping for green, or like Birds of Paradise tapping for a mana of any color. But 1 mana ramp is really efficient and probably quite absurd here, so it might be worth taking Pilgrim over the Terra Sunder, but these are definitely the two cards competing for me instead of hopping off color or taking a more aggressively leaning card like Jadar. Just not that interested in aggro in this cube. I don't think there's enough support for it, so I'm going to take the Avacyn's Pilgrim here, I think, and continue on the ramp plan. Maybe turn 1 Pilgrim, turn 2 Cultivate, get way ahead on mana way early. Pick 5. If we go green, white, and black, play all of these colors, then Buried in the Garden is a removal spell and ramp at the same time, which is quite absurd. So I do like that. I think I'm going to take that, although Timeless Witness is a solid value play, and Quilled Great Worm is an absolutely absurd finisher, but I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot. This cube is chock full of absurd finishers, so I don't think there's a lot of them that you have to take highly. So I'm going to get the removal. Buried in the Garden's the pick. Pick number 6, grab a green-white dual land towards playing green, white, and black in the same deck, or we can take Explore here, which is a little bit of ramp. Kiora's fun if you draft a lot of mana rocks. I feel like Kiora's probably a little stronger in the blue-based decks, and if I weren't recording, if I was strictly trying to win this cube, I would probably end up in blue in every draft. I do want to mention that here. We're seeing a lot of solid blue cards run around. I think Gale's Redirection is busted in this cube with so many excellent high mana value finishers. This really easily casts your opponent's best late game play against them. That's a massive, massive swing in your favor and almost always wins the game. And the Seed Shark's also very good, and the Clone Crafter's also very good. So if I were strictly trying to win, I'd probably be on a blue spell here, but I'm going to take some fixing towards the garden. I think Explorer is the least consistent way to ramp up, because if you don't have the extra lands in your hand, then Explorer is just 2 mana draw a card, which is really bad. But Pilgrim always adds mana, Cultivate always finds 2 more lands, Buried in the Garden always adds more mana. So pass up on the Explorer there with all of our other ramp already to just take the green-white duel. Pick 7 now, Price of Fame, very efficient removal in this cube, I like that. I also like a black-white dual land. Primal Might can be fine if you're a really creature-heavy deck, but right now I'm splashing around enough. I think I'd rather just have targeted, straight-up removal like Price of Fame than the more narrow Primal Might. If you're like a 2-color streamlined green deck with a bunch of beefy creatures, Primal Might is insane. You should probably take it pretty highly. It can get a kill quite early in the game because you're also getting a bunch of extra damage with the +X/+X. But I'm going to be on Price of Fame here. I think Price of Fame and Fortress are the best picks. Liliana is, once again, a completely busted, absurd finisher, but there are so many of them to go around, you don't have to take them highly. Like here is a Crabomination, another busted, absurd filler. I think at this point, with 3 removal spells, a board wipe, and 2 ramp spells, we're low enough on finishers to actually spend a pick on one here, considering I'm not the biggest fan of the removal spell option in this pack, the Sheoldred's Edict. This is a perfectly fine piece of interaction, a perfectly fine removal spell, but it's definitely one of the removal spells you can have at the wrong time because it's not targeted. If your opponent has 2 non-token creatures, they can just sack their weaker creature. If they have multiple token creatures, they can just sack the weaker token, stuff like that. So I'm going to take Crabomination. Also, I think this is one of the most absurd finishers because in Cube, casting some random card for free is often going to be casting some other absurd finisher, and it's like 2 win conditions in one. And I didn't really talk about the Eternal Wanderer there because we're way deeper into green and black. White's kind of a splash, so I don't really want to run the double white Planeswalker. That could be a little difficult for us. So I'm going to take Restless Cottage here, although Fecund Greenshell does seem decent. It's like a beefy creature that also ramps at the same time. But I'm going to go for the Cottage there. I think this is an excellent creature land in the late game. That's also, of course, you're fixing early. Here's a black-white land. The World Tree as well. World Tree's interesting. But I don't think I'm going full 5-color, which is where World Tree's really good. I can just take good fixing on color in the first place. Augur of Autumn, I think, is only going to be particularly good in a really creature-heavy deck. And I think Brawler is a little filler, and Massacre Worm's like super hard to cast. Brawler's not filler because it's a bad card. It's filler because there's so many win cons. Pick 11 Captivating Crossroads. We pick green, white, or black and get that mana off of this. You do only need a single blue mana for Doppelgang, so that's quite splashable. I've got Buried in the Garden adding mana for it. I can put a single island in here with Cultivate. You know what? I'll take my second big random win condition. And we wield Terra Sunder. That feels great. I'm loving the spot that we're in here in Golgari. It looks wide open. Now I've got Crabomination, Doppelgang as finishers. I'm going to take Witness over Great Worm here. Get some more mid-range stuff. We got the Explorer pretty much last pick. And a black-white duel pretty much last pick. Beautiful. Beautiful color trio to be in here in Abzan. Pack 2, pick 1, take the mana ramp of the Llanowar Loam Speaker. Again, just taking that really highly in this deck. Some cool cards I've never seen before, like Thurid, Mare of Destiny. This is from the new Jumpstart cards, I guess. 4 mana 2/4, Flying Lifelink. Whenever you cast a Pegasus, Unicorn, or Horse, copy it. That's a cool commander. I hope somebody built like a sweet Brawl deck with that or something. Yeah, this pack's pretty easy. I mean, there is a slight argument for Mana Confluence, but I'm sure the Mana Accelerant is better from the Loam Speaker there. So this is ramp. This is removal. These are finishers, and these are our mid-range stuff, like the Witness here. Keep our piles going. Pack 2, pick 2. Again, double white cards I'm not that interested in. I'm just playing green-black at the core, splashing a tiny bit of white, tiny bit of blue maybe. It's a green-black duel. There's some blue duels, or another Crossroads. Foundport Charmer. I have seen this card be really absurd for my opponents. 2 mana, 2/3, every creature in your hand is cheaper, or 3 mana, a 2/3 and a 1/1, and every creature in your hand is 2 less to cast. It's almost like 2 Llanowar Elves in one, which is insane. Sutina's also great. Enter, get a land, put it right onto the battlefield, tapped immediately. It's a pretty big ramp. These are both like great little ramp options. I'm gonna go for Sutina though, because our creature count isn't super high right now. And the Fountain Port Charmer does rely on having a high creature count. We've only got 5 creatures currently. All right, pick 3, Tender Wild Guide. All ramp all day. Pick 4. Not a good Sedgemoor Witch deck. We're not going to cast a lot of instants and sorceries. We'll cast like a couple. Not a great Fear of Ridicule deck. We're not going to have like any other enchantment creatures, and if it's your only enchantment creature, it's just okay. I could try Selvala, but I wouldn't be surprised if our opponents play bigger creatures a decent amount of the time. So maybe we take Rafine's Tower here as a way to fix for white and black and the blue Doppelgang Splash, although Solar Transformer also looks great. Just a mana rock in this deck. But I mean, look at all this ramp already. I think I'm taking the land here. I'm taking Rafine's Tower. Pick 5 and Dotha Triumph straight up. Perfect. Unholy Annex Ritual Chamber is generally a good card, but it'll be the only demon in our deck, so it'll be kind of painful, actually. Could be a little risky in that way. Yeah, Hindotha Triumph is just perfect. Windmill Slam pickup, but god, there's other mana ramp, yeah. Faber Elder adds green-white no matter what. Bramble Familiar, 2 mana, ramps once. So much ramp going around. All ramp all day. Come on in, Faber Elder. Pick 6, all ramp all day, Llanowar Elf's time. The 1-drop mana drop, or mana drops, mana dorks have to be like the premium ramp. God, there's Solemn and Golos? What's going on? It's all like clumping up in the same packs as well. We have Solemn Simulacrum and his Big Daddy Golos. There's also Overlord of the Hauntwoods that ramps at the impending cost of 3 or as a finisher. I just really think the 1-mana accelerants are the most absurd way to start ramping. So I'm going to take Llanowar Elves over these other 3, these other 4, even a Wayfarer's Bauble, but this is wild. No one likes the ramp in this. Oh my god. All right, Elvish Mystic, come on in. We got Llanowar Elves and his brother in the same pack. Pick 8, Galta. I mean, Galta's basically free in this deck with all of our ramp, right? There is Goose Mother. We got the blue splash. There's also Overgrown Farmland towards green-white. Drowned Catacomb towards blue-black. I can't even speak anymore. I'm so excited about this deck right now. These black spells aren't the greatest, but Vraska's actually pretty good. Removal plus card draw engine type stuff. Let's actually take Vraska here. Pick 9, Mana Confluence. We are splashing around literally everywhere, so that seems fine. Or the Lolth is okay. I'll take the Confluence. Pick 10. We got the Fountain Port Charmer back. I'm going to slam that in here. Sorry, Crossroads thing, but I think that card's still really solid. Here's Gear Hulk. I want more top-end things to ramp into. Liliana's a really good card in a more controlling deck, but I think Gear Hulk is better in this deck because we are just completely loaded with ramp. We've got the fixing for Ashiok pretty easily as well off the splash. We get the Bramble Familiar, pick 13. We're just wheeling every ramp card. Here's Golos, which will be activatable in this deck off of cards like Mana Confluence and Buried in the Garden on occasion. Pack 3, pick 1. No ramp and no like fixing here. I guess there's an Enduring Vitality that turns all your creatures into mana dorks, but most of our creatures are already mana dorks, so I don't actually think Enduring Vitality is crazy here. We probably genuinely just want another massive finisher or more efficient removal like Prismatic Ending. This should be really easy to cast in this deck. Voracious Hydra is interesting because it can play both the big finisher role and the early removal spell role. The issue with the Hydra is that it's not particularly efficient at either of those things. It's not particularly good at either of those things, but you're paying for the flexibility with that lack in power. Like, obviously, Titan is so much bigger of a blowout in the late game than the Hydra, but because it can play both roles, it can be like a 4-mana way or a 3-mana way to kill their Birds of Paradise, or, you know, your 6-mana way to get a gigantic 12/12 or something on board. Because it can play both roles, I'm going to take that here. I think that'll be decent. Pack 3, pick 2. I like Chupacabra a lot. Removal spell on a stick. Get a 2/2, blow up their best card. I also like Llanowar Visionary, but we have Llanowar Elvish Mystic, Avacyn's Pilgrim, Bramble Familiar, Llanowar Lone Speaker, Explore, Foundport Charmer, Tender Wild Guide, Cultivate, Satina. This is insane. I'm going to take the Ravenous Chupacabra. Oh, good. We have Great Henge too. Why not? Well, okay, I'll tell you why not here, because Binding the Old Gods is removal and ramp. We remove their best card, and then we tutor out a Triome, which is insane. We get the Jetmir's Garden. Technically just a dual land in this deck, because we don't care about the red man at all, but it does get to the Golos, which is interesting. This is such a wild deck. How many lands do I have in here? I have 7 lands in here, 33 minus 7. That's 24 non-land cards. Oh god, I have to start cutting a card every time I draft something now. But everything's so good. Pick 4. Okay, here's where everything is no longer so good. Pillage the Bog is almost Demonic Tutor. You don't need very many lands on board for this to search most of your library in limited. There's some really good finishers like Sheoldred, Elenda. Sheoldred's super easy to cast and destroys something right when you play her. There's also Anguished Unmaking for a removal spell, but because Sheoldred comes with kind of a slight removal spell attached anyway, probably just lean on the Sheoldred there. Yeah, we'll go Sheoldred. She seems great. Murderous Rider is a removal spell and a creature, but Menagerie Curator for more ramp and Birds of Paradise? Hold the phone! What? Okay, Curator's ridiculous because it ramps into any of your creature spells and draws you a card pretty much every time, because look at how many different creature types we have. It draws you whenever you're casting something that isn't, that is like the only creature of that type in your deck, which is most of our creatures. But it's Birds of Paradise, the 1 mana ramp that's any color and can cast our non-creature spells. I'm happy that I decided to do something other than blue today, and I'm happy I decided to try to do ramp today, because the stars could not have aligned better than this. We got like every 1 mana accelerant in the whole cube. This is ridiculous. Pick 6 now. We are splashing white, so we can take anything here pretty much. Gorax I don't think is going to be very good. We're not self-milling at all to try to exile stuff from our grave. We could just dome the control decks for fun, sure. I don't think Mirari's Wake is crazy in here, because it's like by the time we cast it, we already have like infinite mana, because we have so many mana dorks. And it doesn't double our mana dork mana, it only doubles our lands mana. Pick 7. Another random finisher, I suppose. I guess Welcoming Vampire in a deck with so many cheap little mana dork creatures makes all those cheap little mana dork creatures a lot better draws later. I actually really don't mind that idea. Pick 8. I like the Godless Shrine a lot. It's the only card that'll 100% make the cut, but Invasion of Tolvada can also do some fun things, and Pylon is good removal. I'm going to take Godless Shrine, though, again, because it just 100% makes the cut. Okay, I'm not reading all that. I'm happy for you, though. We're sorry that happened. Pick 9, Prismatic Ending here, or Banishing Light, or Enduring Vitality. I mean, I have just a comedy of riches over here. I'm not gonna take Enduring Vitality. I'm actually gonna go Banishing Light over Prismatic Ending. That might actually be better in this cube, because there's so many gigantic things to remove. Pick 10. Green-black duel, that 100% makes the cut, or Llanowar Visionary for our 50 millionth ramp card. I'm going to take the land and just improve the mana base a little. Now we take a Drowning Ichor. Take the Pillage the Bog for the tutor. It's pretty fun. That might get cut, though. I just have way too much good stuff going on. We can splash Kaya. I have so much ramp. We'll play some random 7-drop Kaya finisher. And let's build this deck. Alright, so looking at this deck here, I feel like we have a genuinely insane amount of removal and a genuinely insane amount of ramp. So we could cut out a little bit of that. I don't think we can cut any finishers there with how much ramp we managed to get here. So we probably cut like some of the 3-drop ramp because we're just skipping over 3 mana with all the 4 mana ramp and 2 mana ramp cards here. So like the Fabro Elder and the Sutina could get cut here as 4 mana ramp spells, or as 3 mana ramp spells. I don't know. I might want to just cut the whole middle of the deck and just use the cheap mana cards to just jump right up to the 5 and 6-drop finishers. That's like genuinely quite funny to me. I really don't mind that. Doppelgang's probably our craziest finisher, honestly. But Crabomination's pretty up there. Kaya and Ashiok are kind of absurd. I think Vrask is probably the weakest of our Planeswalker finishers. Voracious Hydra is one of our weakest finishers as well, but again, it has that early flexibility to be removal there early, because I'm about to cut some more removal too. And I think this deck is really consistent, right? It's a million cheap ways to ramp, and then plenty of replaceable finishers in the end. So I don't think we need to tutor for anything specific with like a Pillage the Bog here. Can cut down on a little bit of removal, maybe like a Banishing Light. I have experienced a chunk of like enchantment removal. That would be quite bad for that card. 3 more cards to cut. Cut Drown, Pulse, Tear, Price, Binding, Buried, Blasphemous Edict. I guess if we Edict, we kill all of our mana dorks too. That's kind of rough. Aggro has been just so non-existent in this cube. It might not be the worst to just not run the board wipe. I'm trying to think back on our first couple drafts when we were like blue-black and then we were black-red. I don't think we were ever in a position where Edict would have been insane or anything. If we just had a bunch of good targeted removal like we do in this deck, I don't know that we even need that. So we could cut that here, and then maybe like the cheap removal like Drown and Ichor. Still got Hydra there early. I guess then I have nothing to kill opposing mana dorks, right? I still want to be able to drown or pulse them and slow our opponent down. So I think I am keeping all the 3 cheap removal spells. So maybe a Price of Fame gets a cut. One final card to get cut out of the deck here. It doesn't sound insane to me to cut a land when I have 8 2-mana or less mana dorks, as well as a Cultivate that'll tutor out a land. Even though I have this much top end, like, I think I can cut a land in this deck. The only thing that's a little awkward about cutting a land is the Explore. Gets a little less consistent, but I think we still have so much mana and ways to pull out extra lands like Cultivate that will be fine even in a ramp deck playing just 16 lands, so I'm going to do that. 17 green cards, 8 black, 3 white, and 2 blue. So I need a million green sources. I'm probably not cutting one of those. I'm sitting on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 green sources. I want more than that. I have 4 1-mana green cards. I want like 10 green sources locked in here to make that turn 1 green quite likely. That's 1 out of every 4 cards in the deck being a green source to always turn 1 mana dork. Yeah, green is immensely important to this deck. Basically every card we have in the deck that costs 2 or less costs green. We need at least 10 green sources. So I'm going to go 10 on green. Black is next up. We've got 8 black cards. Most of those are good finishers or removal, though. The removal's kind of important. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's overkill. We'll go 8 on black. 10 green, 8 black. And for blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 blue sources for our 2 blue cards when we also have Buried in the Garden, we also have Wild Guide, we also have Loam Speaker, we also have Birds of Paradise, we also have Golos. I'm playing a single one of these islands, if that. I think we play just a single island. That way I can still grab it off of Cultivate. It does feel important to be able to do that. If it weren't for the Cultivate, I think I would just completely cut islands out of this deck and try to rely on mana dorks plus Golos pulling out blue duels and triumphs and stuff. But I've got a Cultivate in here, so having the single island does feel worth it. So 10 green sources 8 black sources, 4 blue sources, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white sources, and a bunch of mana dorks to cast the blue and the white cards. Sounds like a good mana base for a 4-color deck here, and it looks like a really good deck. Just so much acceleration to all this nonsense. It's all interchangeable. Whatever top-end nonsense we have, it's just mana dork, boom. Mana dork, boom. The boom's going to be different each game. We're going to be using different explosives, but hopefully we can still destroy our opponent's faces as we hop into the gameplay here and see how this deck does. All right, here we are on the draw. We don't have any of our 1-mana mana dorks, but we have so many in this deck that we still have 2 of the 2-mana ones. Draw into Kaya as a finisher, so I have Dramoka into Kaya, turn 6 and 7. Oh, they're not even going to be turn 6, turn 7. They're going to be more like turn 4 or 5. If they don't blow up Bramble Familiar here. Restless Fortress. All right, we'll explore and play that. Draw into the Avacyn's Pilgrim. Yep. Can bury the garden if they play any threats here. And that leads into a Dramoka next turn if I draw land. Painful Truths is not a threat. It's a 3-mana draw 3. Fair enough. We played Bramble Familiar before Avacyn's Pilgrim because we need another green source more than another white source, and I only have enough green mana to play one of the 2 cards. Mana Confluence is the draw, so now I can play both of them and just hope they don't have a board wipe. Even if they do, I have a Buried in the Garden coming up to get us to Dramoka mana. Right, because I play this, exile anything, and then I've got 6 mana on board, 5 plus the 6th from the Buried in the Garden. Prosper Tomebound is the play. Don't mind exiling that. I actually have Kaya mana here? Dumb. Oh, that's dumb. I get a copy of their Prosper, so I get its abilities? Wow. Yeah, Kaya's great in this cube if you can ramp to her, but you really gotta have a lot of ramp. We just happen to have a ridiculously good ramp deck here to make that Kaya so castable. God, she's got hexproof. That is silly. That is silly. You play her, get rid of your opponent's best threat, you get a 1/1 version of it so you have all of its good abilities, and then they can't even target her with anything to get rid of her, so she's going to sit there draining them for life until she's big enough to steal their next threat? Wow. Okay, yeah. Kaya's going to be bonkers in this deck. They did hit Bloodchief's Thirst off of Prosper, but that sure don't hit a hexproofing Kaya. It can kill our Prosper, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how they possibly beat turn 5 Kaya, but crazier things have happened, so we'll see. Slumgar's Command's a pretty good one. Clear out one of our mana dorks, as well as the Prosper.
Just give up on it.
And here's Dramoka. Okay, I don't mind that tapping. But we have more than enough life to have just used the Confluence. So we probably should have attacked with the 1/1 Pilgrim, but obviously Auto Tapper did not want to ping me for one, so it used Pilgrim. There's a Sorin. That's cute, but not really going to work here. So just going to draw a card, lose life equal to its mana value, drop Agent of Rafine. They are at 12. I can one-shot Sorin here. Just steal the agent. I don't think I need to steal the agent. I don't even need to kill Sorin. I can kill him with Buried in the Garden and shoot their face instead. Can I kill them here? Make a 1/4 that also drains them for 2 sets, 3 damage. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I can kill their agent, they're actually dead here. Green, green, white, 1. 1 mana off from lethal, so I have to play that. Put this on Breeding Pool. Exile Agent of Rafine. Go white. Green, black. Activate. Oh, I have to use Pilgrim too. Yeah, I'm still 1 damage off. Oh, it's so close. Shoot. We would have killed him if I attacked with Abathyn's Pilgrim last turn. No! Well, they're at 1 and there's about 1,000 things that can kill them here, so... Star Extinction, cute, but they're still very, very dead. Oh, Star Extinction does kill Kaya. Cute, but they're still very dead. Thank you, Restless Fortress. Very cool. 1-0, heading into game 2. Alright, we got the Fountain Port Charmer. That's the mana dork of this hand. We want to play that turn 3, get the double discount on both of these cards. That'll play really well. Then I get to play a turn 4 Dragon Lord Jamoka. Oh, this deck is nice. Top off the curve with a ridiculous Voracious Hydra. I can use the Adventure for just 5? Wow. Surprising it makes the Adventure cheaper too. But that is nice. 4 mana Dragon Lord Jamoka. Whee! Restoration of Agonjo is an excellent mid-range card. 3 mana, grab a land, then discard a card, reanimate a land from grave, or any 2 mana creature. And then it's a 3/4 spitting out a 1/1 every time it attacks or blocks. I like this card a lot. This was a banger in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty draft, obviously. Super, super good in a regular non-cube draft format, but still solid in cube. Beza. We've got a lot more than they have, so they're going to get a lot of different things. Yeah, they get life plus creatures. There's nothing I need to Voracious Hydra right now, so I think I'm going to take the Bramble Familiar gamble. Alright. That was a bad one. Wow. I should have just played a Voracious Hydra. Jesus. That's rough. Let's look at the OG Land Werewolves. Well, shoot. They're black-white. I imagine they have a lot of removal here, which means we are not in a good position. If I top deck anything, I've got enough mana to blow them out, but just 1 Voracious Hydra as my finisher here if Jamoka dies is not a really winning position. The Bramble Familiar just completely missing was brutal. Yeah, and we get soloed by Kaya. Oh, that's the other Kaya. Okay, this Kaya also probably solos us, but not as guaranteed as the 7 mana Kaya. Yeah, no, just removing the Jamoka and leaving behind a big threat is already probably enough here. Okay, x currently equals 2. I need x to be 4. So now X equals 4, and then I can play Loam Speaker and Bramble Familiar in the same turn. I don't think Loam Speaker matters a whole ton right now. I mean, the 4/4 bodies do matter, but it's probably better to actually just have a 6-power Hydra. Okay, X equals 6. Play the Bramble Familiar so I can bring it back to hand and re-adventure next turn. At least there's that synergy that, because it's a perpetual card, because it's alchemy nonsense. Oh, hello, Paulo. You don't do anything right now. Because it's alchemy nonsense, fetch quest costs 5 for the rest of the game, so I can just keep bringing it back to my hand and fetch questing for the cheaper mana value.
Ghosting feels weird, right?
Still kind of getting soloed by Kaya, though. Kaya, like, with a great enter effect like Baze is pretty gross. And they just have the removal for Hydra anyway. Yep. Orzhov might be our worst matchup because it's the most removal-heavy color pair. But our draw here was also pretty miserable. We had the one Voracious, or the one Dramoka finisher, basically, and then Voracious Hydra. It's just too low on ways to end the game. Okay. How many big creatures do I have in this deck that could insta-kill? Gearhulk and Carbomination and Golos and Sheoldred. Okay, I have 4 really good creatures to hit in the next 20 cards. It's probably worth a fetch quest. Oh, we're just gambling on draws here. So fetch quest cost me 7 mana. I spend 2 mana to bring it back to hand. I spend the other 5 casting the fetch quest. I can either fetch quest or cast everything else. I can't do both. I think I'm fetch questing. Okay, we got a Golos or a Gearhulk. Oh, picks up enchantments. Oh, I can bury it in the garden. The Kaya, that's huge. But I'm pretty behind on board in terms of creatures here. It's just better than Gearhulk, though, for sure. And if I pick up Golos, Kaya's just gonna exile the Golos. Now we're chumping here. Trying to draw into a finisher. Sheoldred's fine, but I can't block Spellbinder, so I'm taking 3 a turn here from that. I guess I could flip Sheoldred relatively easily and kill Spellbinder with that. Oh, Lord have mercy. Unstoppable Slasher. I feel like that's probably one of the best cards in the cube. I don't have the mana to cycle that right now anyway. I can flip a Sheoldred and then proliferate onto her. 5 mana. That's double removal. Shieldred blows something up. Drown and Ichor blows something up. Charmer's big enough to get the unstoppable slasher stunned. Beza. Just a 4/5, no extra value. Oh, only if they have 8 or more cards in their grave. Oh, Jesus, I can't ever flip Shieldred then. What am I... what am I on about? And on my next 10 cards, I could hit Crabomination? If I Bramble Familiar? I mean, we just YOLO it now. That's like our only out here. Yeah, I should have read. The text is so tiny, though. There's so much text on it. They need 8 or more cards in grave to do that. Yeah, YOLO, Crabomination, 2 cards left in deck. Well, if nothing else, it's the funnest way to go out here. YOLO. There's Crabominum. And Binding the Old Gods, but it's definitely Crabominum. Oh, into Gear Hulk? Hold up. Hold up. I only get to cast one of these. Get 2 Menace Reach Spiders. Lolth might be the one, actually. Over Gear Hulk. But I can't draw any cards off Lolth or I'm going to mill out first. But I guess they're down to 1/1/1 flyer if I Gear Hulk. Oh, Gear Hulk. No, wait, they just double block Shieldred with a 4/5 and 1/1. Okay, I have 3 cards left. One of them's Kaya. It's 2 lands and Kaya left in this deck. If the first draw is Kaya, maybe I win with an empty library. I actually have the bigger board now to attack with everyone next turn. But I have to kill them in 3 attacks. So we need that Kaya like on top of this deck. Uh-oh. Their best permanent from grave? Oh, that's just Spellbinder Restoration? Okay. That's not crazy. Just grab Spellbinder. Yeah. Okay. The plan stays the same. No! The plan is draw Kaya immediately and kill them. But we didn't draw Kaya immediately. Okay. We got to get some of these creatures into their graveyard, ideally. Still need a tiny bit of blocks. Shieldred probably dies here, but I have 2 turns to get the kill, so that's what it is. Get to attack with a 4/4 off this Loam Speaker. Yep, they get the easy kill on Shieldred, but then that soaks up enough of their blockers for the other blocks to not be very good. Yeah, that's super fine. Yeah, I think if they do like block Crabomination with Spellbinder and Knight of the White Orchid, the board state's enough in our favor to turn this into a win over time. Or even that, like we could maybe, like if they just miss, they just hit a land off the top, I think we can actually win this race before we mill out. We'll see. They let us keep the fortress, so we get a drain 2 no matter what. Two cards left. Kaya is not the bottom card of the deck. I think that's GG, right?
I'll see this through till the end.
Almost no matter how we play it out. Oh, I could Loam Speaker the Fortress and not have to spend that extra mana. That would be, like, insane. Okay, well, I'm gaining enough life here to just... Let's do this and see how much damage it is. Well, they can just go block, block, and they super live. Does Beza draw a card? I cannot exile Beza with Kaya. Could exile Knight of the White Orchid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could do that and then fail to find with Knight of the White Orchid. Wait, this is... I'm just gonna get the damage in with Kaya here. They should be dead next turn pretty much no matter what. Obsidat, drain me for 2? No. No. They might still be dead. I haven't done the math, but the gain life there is not good. Skip the land haste. Yes, but Cottage comes to play tapped. Oh, shoot. Oh, God. Okay, so... It's better to exile their Obsidat than it is to just shoot them for 3, because that reduces a blocker and hits them for 2. They're at 4. Block 2 creatures. Block the 5/5, block the 4/4, take 1, 2, 3. No! They live with like 1 life? I think I missed a damage somewhere. Not like this! Why do you undertapped? Oh, I guess because it would be completely insane if it didn't. One damage off. I have nothing I can do like in my upkeep before I draw another card. Nothing to put a card back on top of my deck. God. If that stupid Obsidat were any other creature that like just doesn't gain them life. Oh. Yeah, when we 100% could have found 1 extra point of damage somewhere this game. This game was so long. And there was so much going on. God dang, dude. That sucks. Oh, I wish I had Life Drain in hand. Opponent deserves to lose for that. But we don't. Stopping the upkeep just in case. Yeah, no, I can't do anything in the upkeep here. Oh, that's a tragedy. Definitely could have won that. I fought so hard too, because I feel like the early game played so hard against us, because we didn't have any of our best finishers. We had just our weakest ones. Just trying to win off the one Dragon Lord when they had just tons of early removal. The first Bramble Elemental hit was horrible. Yeah, the early game went so bad for me. I was like so convinced the game was just going to end early. And then to be able to fight it out that long and potentially turn it around, but just because I missed 1 point of damage somewhere, it doesn't work out. That's a huge bummer. 1-1 it is, heading into game 3. All right, revenge time. I'm on the draw here, but this hand is going to demolish. We just need to draw any other finisher than Dramoka. I'm angry now. Anger for the rest of the draft. Slam faces. Ramp at astronomical speeds. Just getting ready for the super speedy ether drift, right? Cultivate first. Swamp forest. Oh, it's not a spell. Explore land. Kicked wild guide. There we go. Noxious Gearhulk's a big one. Get to actually cycle the Rafine's Tower here. The Rafine does have Ward 1, so I need 7 mana for Gearhulk, but I have the 7 mana. Alenda? Hexproof from Instance. Oh. Hey there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 for a ward on Rafine if I want to Kaya exile Rafine. Rafine can hit for 2 maximum. Kaya's going to be 3 loyalty. I can just start with Gearhulk. That'll be fine. Actually gonna kill Alenda here. And Kaya the Rafine paying the ward. Okay. It's actually probably better to cycle this than get 1 damage and 1+1/+1 counter. Vona. Let's write online permanent, discard a card, get a duplicate into their hand. It's cute. So they're going to get a Gearhulk into their hand. That's pretty nasty. Kaya's even nastier.
Get in, deal some damage, get out. Sounds easy enough. First you, then your ghost.
Dragon Lord Ojutai. Okay. The hexproof is definitely bad for me. Vona's Flying Menace thanks to Kaya, which is gross. Oh my god, Kai can... I totally forgot Kai can just start drawing, too. It might actually be better here with them at 20. Oh! See, this is what we needed to draw last game. This is insane. Oh my. Oh my. Okay, I'm in a really solid position to just kind of chill for a second here. Have all that to play next turn if we need to. I really don't know if we even will. That's big. 2/4/4 flyers. Non-token creature, so they have to sack Oja tied to Shieldred. That's really nasty. It's a good draw.
I've done my research.
Drown and Iker's pretty excellent. Mana off from playing that and the Dramoka, but that feels worth it for the proliferate. Oh shoot, I guess I'm discarding this Buried in the Garden. Because everything else is so good. Polymorphist. Exile one of our creatures and then we seek a card. Final Llanowar Elves. Poke Kaya down to 0 because it is 4 damage.
More I can do here.
Sad. Crabominum. Do 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 do. Eternal. Oh my god. Wow, and we hit the Vona from their grave? Jesus. So we probably would have picked Vona there. Alright. I mean, that game definitely could have been played tighter, but I was just so far ahead the whole time. I was like, alright, I'm just kind of clicking buttons here. 2-1, heading into game number 4. Feels good to have all the mana dorks in the entire cube. Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Loam Speaker, and Wild Guide in the opener. This is the kind of opener that you want to have, but you have to draw a finisher, or it does just kind of not do anything with all the mana. But that's a snap keep. It is explosive off of any of our higher mana value draws. Abomination, Kaya, Doppelgang, Shieldred. So much insanity this hand could do. Our opponent is not going to have a good time here, because I don't have anything to ramp into anyway, so they're just going to sit here and keep killing the mana dorks, and then be like, when will they stop? When will they stop? Never. Now we have a Dragon Lord Jamoka. That's an okay top-end card. That should be decent in this matchup. They're on Grixis. The uncounterable finisher. Shuts off all their instants as well. Really high toughness against any damage spells and any -X as well. We've got an Outcast, not super worried about that. I have the Drown and Iker I can use before that hits the 6 lands it needs to do its thing. They're Grixis, so I don't think I really need to preemptively blow it up. I can wait till they have 5 lands on board. First lining a Wild Guide, yep. That's what's so awesome about the Offspring ability. So I still have part of it. Down to 14. Golos off the top? Sure. Doesn't matter. I should have played this after Golos because I'm about to shuffle my deck. That was loose. But Golos is a great draw because we don't have the 6 for Jamoka anyway, and they don't have 5 lands yet for the Outcast, let alone the next one. So we get a red source, right? So that I have the 5 color. Oh, I'm not going to because I have 3 white-black lands. Shoot, that's pretty awkward. I think I still do get the red, green, white source here. Yeah, I have white, black, blue, green, or white, black, blue, red. Any combination like that. Oh, these are both a mana of any color. I can just start activating Golos every turn. Okay, that's fun. 7 mana to do it though, so then I wouldn't be drowning the Outcast. I can play a very safe game here, so I probably just should, right? Where I just drown an Iker and I still have 5 mana. So I can't drown and Dragon Lord, sadly, but I think this is worth it. Play the safe plan. I could even blow up the Gilded Lotus, but I think with the Pulse in hand, I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to get extra damage in here. Triple white. Uh-oh. It's not really worrisome. What? The Grixis death goes Gilded Lotus triple white for Day of Judgment? Seeing these lands from our opponent, I think not pulsing the Gilded Lotus was a fair play, but my god, the fact that it was Day of Judgment then. The Bolas was more predictable. They could have had something like Bolas. I forgot Bolas does just +1 to exile 2 cards from hand. That's frustrating. All right. Again, I think the play was fair with the information that I had at the time, but I was working off of skewed information, not great information. I was kind of playing in the way that you should play in like regular draft formats, and not the way you should probably play in Chromatic Cube. Just not enough experience in those situations to play that out super well. It is what it is. Pretty brutal because it was a very winnable game had we pulsed the Gilded Lotus. Man, this sucks because that's both of our losses being 100% user error. I feel like this is a 7-0 deck, but because I'm not very good at Cube, it's just gonna go like 3-3 and it's gonna be brutal. Oh, I hit 2 lands off Crab. That's some pretty awful luck, but we're chilling. You know, I probably should have played Pilgrim there, because even if they have the board wipe, like, oh, I would have an extra 1/1 to stabilize with later. Like, that's basically nothing post board wipe anyway. So just get the extra 1 damage per turn onto the board. Please play a blocker. Thank you. Say goodbye to the blocker. Now if they board wipe me, I activate a cottage and basically kill them with that. Alenda. So I mean, they blocked there. They're at 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's dead. That's really dead. All right. Let's get some more games like that. Some just head empty games where the lines are super, super simple. I just play dudes and attack. I don't have to think in a longer game of Magic when I need to use removal, when I don't need to. Just play the cards out, swing them all in. I can win those games. We are 3-2 heading into game 6. Game 6, pretty excellent mana. There's no blue for Doppelgang until Buried in the Garden, but I have Buried in the Garden, Golos, and Bind the Old Gods for fixing and ramp. Surveil one. I still have the untapped Shock land to play. I'll keep a Mystic. It's probably going to draw removal. We're against another blue-red deck. I need the untapped land next turn, so I'm playing the Cottage this turn, because that always comes in tapped. Yep, there's the Royal Eruption. Fair. Super fine with this hand. Cultivate's a great draw, because all of my ramp also involves killing something, and there's nothing to kill right now, so... Do I have a blue dual land anywhere? I do. I have Breeding Pool or Raffine's Tower. Okay, so I'll Golos for Raffine's Tower, and I'll just take double green here. This is my only proactive play, so we do it, but I'm not sure Golos is going to stick around here. The fort wouldn't be the worst, but I do want to have access to all 5 colors for Doppelgang and Golos' ability. Oh. Okay, well. There's nothing to kill, so we just activate Golos. Alright, Lone Speaker. Land. Terror of the Peaks. Oh, baby. X tokens that are copied. So green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or green, blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Green, blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can get 2 Terror of the Peaks for the double triggers. That's not insta-lethal, though. Is it? They both trigger each other once. That's 10 damage. And I can get 2 copies of... I guess I get 2 copies of land and then play a Fountain Port thing, right? Yes. Green, blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doppelgang X equals 2. 2 copies of Terror of the Peaks. 2 copies of Forest. Autopay. They ping for 10. Boop. Boop. And then, okay, they're not even going to let me do it. Then I can Fountain Port Charger, which pings for 4 off of the Forest. Put them to 3. And then this Bramble Familiar costs 1 mana. Boom, put them to 0. Yeah, Doppelgang, Terror of the Peaks finisher. I mean, that was just a really unlucky game for our opponent. We just didn't have a lot of stuff. And because we have a million mana dorks, we are just always going to be casting everything we draw early there. So our deck is really, really good against slower hands. And that is 4-2 heading into game 7. All right, here we are on the draw. Tons of ramp, a Golos for ramp and a finisher. And if all that gets blown up, as long as I get that mana towards the Doppelgang, we'll still have an insane end game. And by all that, I just mean like if Golos dies and we don't get to just keep activating his ability, we just use all the mana we got for Doppelgang. Playing against Boros so far, they started with Sacred Foundry, and there's a forest, so Naya. Collector's Cage is the play. Pretty weak without a creature on board, but once they get 3 different creatures on board with a different mana value, or sorry, a different power, then they get to go crazy. Oh, I'm dumb. Oops. I somehow thought this was a forest, so I was supposed to play the swamp first and then go green, colorless for Loam Speaker, and then, you know, have the forest or the Birds of Paradise to play the Pilgrim there. Because now if they kill one of the mana dorks, I don't get to Golos this turn. Yeah, that's brutal. I am colorblind on that one, apparently. Territorial Kavu, sure. Well, I got a solid play to make up for that. I just kill the Kavu. Killing any creature is fine when they have Collector's Cage on board. Buried in the Garden, solid keep. I have the mana for that even if they cast a board wipe like Day of Judgment or something. I've got the double white, or not the double white, the white and a green. Started thinking I needed Day of Judgment mana. I don't, just buried into the Garden mana. Cool, I could kill the Bunnycorn, but it's not particularly scary yet, so I'm just going to Golos ramp. We need blue and red force. I don't have both of those on one card. I can get a blue source or a red source. I need blue really badly because I need it for Doppelgang, so we'll go Rafine's Tower. I guess Loam Speaker can provide the red for activating Golos if we want to play that route. Knight of the White Orchid. Decent little ramp spell. No blocks. Because that's a 5/5 against the 3/5 if I try to block with Golos. Okay, I think I want to bury that in the garden. I could Breeding Pool, untapped and Doppelgang for 2, but I will save that for a later turn. I just want to make sure this Bunnycorn is not doing anything. It's gotten threateningly large already. And as I said before, any creature alongside the Collector's Cage can stack up and be pretty threatening. Okay, I probably should have not auto-tapped here. I should have let the Buried in the Garden land stay tapped, because then I could use Loam Speaker to attack with the Fortress and drain some life. I gotta get more used to doing the Loam Speaker Restless Fortress combo, because it's really, really strong. Dollmaker's Shop. It's moderately threatening with the Collector's Cage over there. Okay, that's really threatening now. But they're tapped out of using Cage immediately. I get multiple. I can get multiple shops, but they'll all be locked. Well, I mean, I get 2 Buried in the Garden, so we just do that 100%. Blue. Oops. I guess it doesn't matter. Green, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't have Loam Speaker and Fortress up. Dang it. Okay, no attacks this turn, but fine. 5, 6. Green, blue, 6. X equals 2. 1, 2. Buried in the Garden. And actually Collector's Cage seems sicker than Dollmaker's Shop. And much like the collector's cage, the dollmaker's shop doesn't do anything if... wow, we did not hit high mana value cards for these cages. It doesn't do anything if they are on an empty board, if they don't have any creatures out there. Do they have any creature lands? No. Cool. Let's cultivate. Alright, that was still quite the turn. I have an instant speed removal spell up with this Binding the Old Gods too. They top deck the land. Feels incredibly over. Might as well unlock the gallery for later, they say. Get that ready to go in. Activate this. See if it does any damage. Nope. Ashiok also doesn't add any damage. I don't know if this is lethal, but just put some counters on the board. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's lethal. And I can activate the other cage for overkill, but that's exact twos already. Oh, I forgot. Even without the counter was lethal because we have all of that damage plus the drain. That's super, super lethal. Well, as you can see, my brain still doesn't work too much, but the deck we've drafted is so absurd that it just gets these crazy, crazy blowout curves like that. 0 green sources in this opener is so awkward. If I top deck like 1 forest, this hand goes off, but I think most hands in this deck go off because, again, we have 4 1-mana accelerants, 4 2-mana accelerants, cultivate and buried in the garden later as well. This has got to be a mulligan, I think. I think our deck is more than strong enough to have a solid chance even on a mull to 6. Okay, way better mana. I ditch the Hydra and use Sheoldred as that kind of card. Start off with Cottage, so we've got a green source on the board. There's Rona as their first play. Birds of Paradise is the draw. Definitely drop that down this turn. I don't have an untapped land, so no Bramble Familiar. Draw a card, discard a card off Rona. Discard an island. Pure blue-black over there. Metamorph Birds of Paradise. It's pretty good. I could have 4 mana up here, but I have no 4-drop to play. It's the ramp to 5 mana that I need, so we just play Elves plus Bramble Familiar plus tap land. Another draw a card, discard a card from Rona. Discard the big tomb shell. Send a message, swing a birds in for 0. Alright. Violent moves. Okay, it wasn't just sending a message. They needed to attack so they don't have to discard a card to chart a course. Okay, that's cute. Oh, do I have the mana for that? Oh, gross, I do. Yeah, that's tempting. There's nothing super great to copy right now, though, so I think I'm just gonna work on our board here and get the Sheoldred. I mean, they've got no flying damage to send at Ashiok either, so just starting to make the 2/3s with Ashiok could also be game-winning. Yeah, I think either way to play this is fine. We'll lead with Ashiok here. If I play Sheoldred, they're just gonna sack like a Rona, and that's really whatever. I'm gonna block with Bramble Familiar. Let's get 2 damage in. Or take the trade into Sleeper. Whittle down the board for Shieldred trigger to be better. Alright, level up the Sleeper. Maybe shouldn't have attacked with Bramble Familiar there, because it is a bold attack. If they do take the trade for Familiar with the Evolved Sleeper and then we don't draw land, that is bad for us. Not having the option of Kaya. Our current game plan remains just make another 2-3 with Ashiok, play a Shieldred for now. Like, Kaya's going to be the better creature they have on the board later. But just to be confident that we know we have a Kaya coming up, making sure that we keep all these mana dorks is definitely valuable. Sleeper gets sent at Ashiok. They can spend some more mana to make Sleeper big enough to kill the 2-3, but that soaks up some of their mana and still exiles a couple cards from their deck. So I'm going to keep Ashiok rolling here. Exiled Grave Titan Jadar, gross. Those are really strong cards. I mean, it's a cube draft. It's Chromatic Cube. I imagine any non-lands we hit are going to look real spicy. Evolve the Sleeper to kill the 2-3 without losing it. Shieldred Arona here. Probably. Oh, they got the Kindred Denial. Gross. Well, pretty happy that didn't get to hit Kaya. They'd get a 7-drop from their deck. Okay. Familiar just bounces off Rona anyway. Oh. Well, now I could poke them for 2, but like having the option to double block Evolved Sleeper. Alright, please resolve a big spooky creature that I may borrow with Kaya. Up to 3 spells from among face-up cards your opponent own with exile without paying their mana cost. Titan Jadar free. Whatever I get off the Nightmare. Okay, yeah, we are full Ashiok defense mode. I don't even have to cast a spell for Ashiok to win the game. So they can't even counter like a -7 Ashiok here. At minimum, Grave Titan Jadar. Technically, we will be casting their own cards against them. They could counter those, but... Okay, that's really nice. That's a smart move. Destroy the 2-3 so we can't exile any more of their cards before an Ashiok ult here. And force just a chump if I want to keep the Ashiok around. It's any of their exiled cards. They don't even have to be exiled by Ashiok. So I could Kaya, exile one of their creatures, and cast whatever I exile as well. The double attack is rough, though, because then I'd have to chump with... Well, no, I could just put the 2-2 in front of the 1-3 and chump with Birds of Paradise and still have double white, double black, because our mana base is beautiful. So I've got the 7 here if they don't removal spell one of these. Even with the chump. This is still just 1 chump. It's just a different chump than I planned. Bloodthirsty Conqueror. Okay. Oh, and now I really have the mana. So Kaya. Exile the Conqueror, plus I get a copy of it. Ult the Ashiok, cast a Conqueror. A Grave Titan. And a Jadar. My lord. And we gain twice as much as we deal. Welcome to the new board state. The nice from opponent. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Rona does some digging. I do have less than 13 creatures on board if they have each player sacks 13 creatures. But then I still have an active Kaya. And it's each player sacks 13, not each opponent, so their board would be gone too. Outrageous Robbery, doing some digging out of our deck, trying to find an out. We've got some pretty ridiculous top-end cards they could find here. If they found Maelstrom Pulse, that would also be really lucky, because they could Maelstrom Pulse both the Conquerors. We'd still be really far ahead, but that's still quite good. Terra Sunder the Bird? Oh, I think it was a misclick. They were trying to tap the bird for mana. Either way, it's game there. Like, they exile one creature, and we have an insane board state to crack in with, so that is going to be 6-2 now. All right, we got a couple rough losses there because they were both pretty self-imposed, so I was feeling really down when I was like 3-2 with this deck, somewhere around there. But now we are back up to 6-2. We made it all the way to the final boss with this deck. As I was saying before, I think this deck is incredible. I think this archetype is super, super powerful. Ramp is just so good in the cube, so if you see those cheap mana dorks, you can scoop them up, and they were just everywhere in this draft pod. So again, I think this deck is a 7-0 deck. It's just being piloted by me, so it's 6-2 right now. So we could have been just 7-0 out of here by now, but this is a really, really nice hand for the final game. We'd like to draw some more mana dorks, but we have, again, 4 1-drop mana dorks, 4 2-drop mana dorks, cultivate, other like 3 mana stuff. So we can definitely draw into more mana dorks. The main reason we want them is to be resilient through any removal spells from our opponent, any interaction, make sure that we're still ramping into all this nonsense, because we have the finishers in this hand. So this will be a turn 3 Golos or a turn 3 Ashiok. Either is going to be pretty absurd. I think I'm going to lead with turn 3 Ashiok with how insane that card played last game anyway. With the amount of stuff I have to ramp into, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm supposed to actually Ashiok first, or Golos first, but I'm just going to start the Ashiok Exile train here immediately.
The shadows awaken.
Okay, Mythweaver Pock is really nice. Every land they play is now 2 lands. That would be awesome in this deck as well. Just the Mega Ramper. Probably going to just Gear Hulk that next turn immediately. I gain a lot of life off that too, which is quite nice. Yeah, Gear Hulk can immediately stop as much as possible. Sure, they make Sutina 3/3. That 2-card combo is also really good, right? Because this makes 2 lands a turn. This only picks up 1 of them to get bigger. Okay, I'm going to let Ashiok go to 3. I have the 5/4 to trade into Sutina. If they do get a removal spell to kill it, I can still chump block with the other 2/3 we just got here, so I'm definitely attacking it and getting more exiled. And they're over it. Okay, 1 Ashiok is all we needed, but we had so much more with that Kaya coming up next turn as well. It was going to be really, really gross. That is 7-2. As I said before, a really, really, really strong deck here. I think this archetype looks incredibly viable. when it's anywhere near this open. This was like a once in a blue moon kind of thing. It was genuine insanity to me. Like, we're putting premium cards in the sideboard like Sutina, and Faber Elder's decent as well, just because we got like literally every mana dork in the cube. We got Pilgrim, Birds, Mystic, Elves, Loam Speaker, Bram Familiar, Fountainport Charmer, Tender Wild Guide. These all played incredibly. The Fountainport Charmer as a 3 mana card, getting the Offspring was really good at getting these late game plays to be incredibly cheap. I liked that a lot. I wouldn't have mind cutting Hydra and trading that for something else, because again, it was always just kind of fine at either half of the card. I think we could have used something better there. Kaya was an absurd win condition. Doppelgang was an absurd win condition. Carbomination, absurd win condition. Ashiok, an absurd win condition. But those are all, as I said before, as powerful as they are, somewhat replaceable because there's just so many big, insanely powerful cards. So the really, really important part for drafting this kind of deck is taking those Elvish Mystics and Llanowar Elves and Birds of Paradise style cards way earlier than they were going around in that draft pod. I don't think they should ever be going as late as they were there. I don't think anyone else was playing any kind of green-based ramp deck in this pod, which just ended up with us having a super absurd ramp deck here that could have easily gotten a 7-0 if we played it out perfectly today. Literally everything wrong with the deck was purely user error during the gameplay. Nothing to do with really how powerful the deck itself is as a whole. So, yeah, just an excellent, excellent draft today. Really fun one, really crazy one. But that's going to grab us our first 7-win trophy run in the Chromatic Cube draft. And it's nice to win it with a strategy that is so Chromatic Cube focused, you know. Rarely are you going to draft a deck as insanely rampy as that, even in the Chromatic Cube, because I doubt you're going to be able to get every single mana dork every time, but definitely not in a normal draft format or even just the regular Arena Cube. So this was Chromatic Cube with a couple capital C's. Capital C Chromatic Cube there. So really cool stuff. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.